It's so nice to see you again. I don't know if you remember, we met a couple of years ago at the Cliffs Pavilion.
We did it in the theatre itself. We were in the seats, I think.
Yes, and you were all dressed up as Riff Raff then.
I was a bit different today.
And I had exactly the same top on.
Ah, great.
Pick it out again. Yeah. So it's nice to see you. Are you in your dressing room?
I am in my dressing room, yes. We're in Edinburgh this week. And, Edinburgh's a fabulous place, so it's always good to be here.
Last time I saw you, I think you were up to like 1,470 something performances. Where are we now?
We're on about 1,960 or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, and is that just as Riff Raff? Or
no, that is as Rocky Horror, because I have played a few different roles in Rocky Horror. So, but for short periods. And so a Riff Raff is about, 100 behind or so, something like that.
What are the situations where you do step into somebody else's roles? Is it because they're ill, or do you sometimes just do it anyway?
No, it doesn't really work like that. Because, the people who run the show need to make sure that their show goes on. In any circumstance, then normally people will have a character will have two understudies. So I myself as Riff Raff, I have two covers, and because they also cover other roles, they might not be available to play to cover Riff Raff. And as what happens generally in a cast is, if one person gets sick, often lots of us get sick. So it often happens at the same time. So they need to make sure they're covered. So at the moment, I'm one of the Frank covers. And so I occasionally would go on, but not very often. Is the hope, because hopefully I just want to concentrate on Riff Raff.
Of course you do. And talking about people being sick, you had a kind of monumental case of that, didn't you, last year? It couldn't have been a more important day either, could it?
No, it was COVID has a great sense of timing. And a lot of the cast came down with COVID just before we were doing one of those cinema live things. But we still managed to go on and do it, just with some lots of new faces.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, you must have been in a state of almost panic at the time, mustn't you?
Well, in those moments, you don't really go into panic mode. You just can't quite believe it's happening, and often those situations are so outrageous that you end up being quite calm about it. So certainly, there were very unusual circumstances. They really were. But we weren't alone. There's been lots of shows that have had similar things happen in the past year, where casts have been decimated by COVID, and then suddenly you've got people jumping across from other theaters and other productions or previous productions, and it's been very interesting times, and testing times.
Yeah, it's been tough. But at the beginning of the first, like the original lockdown, were you in New Zealand? Were you?
I happened to have been in New Zealand because I was just visiting my parents for a short holiday. So that short holiday turned into much longer because I couldn't actually get back. So but New Zealand was a good place to get stuck for a while.
Yeah. And did you get to perform while you there? Because
I did. I managed to pick up a show there for a period. I managed to play Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys, and which was fabulous because I love doing other shows. I love Rocky Horror, of course, but I love doing other shows as well, because what it does for me is it wipes the slate clean. And then when I come back to Rocky Horror, then it's a little bit like starting afresh again. And I really appreciate that, and it just makes me fresher in Rocky, because nobody really tells you, when you're doing a role for such a long time, nobody really tells you the the highs and lows and of how to get through that, because it's I think people think that perhaps it becomes easier as you go along, but it doesn't. It becomes more challenging actually as you go along. And so it's always good for me to go away and do something else, and it cleanses the palate.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, like for a lot of actors, you'd say like, how do you keep something fresh, not just for the audience, but for yourself as well? But that kind of answers that question a little bit.
I also always, it's just my personality type, I always get a little bit nervous when I'm doing Riff Raff, even now.
Really?
And I think that it's only because I really care about it. And I want to make sure I do a good job, and I just try my best to go out there and do good job. So I'm quite hard on myself. So I'm not necessarily ever take anything for granted. And I when it comes to Riff Raff, I continue to work really hard in the role. And so I certainly appreciate it, but that keeps it fresh to a certain extent. And the hardest thing is not getting into patterns or even thought patterns, because it is Groundhog Day.
Yes,
doing exactly the same thing every single day. And you can get into patterns, not even just on stage. You can get into patterns off stage. This is where I pass that same person who's coming the exact same way. This is where I say hello to them. This is where I do it. It's
you must dream Rocky Horror.
Well, luckily I don't remember my dreams, so I might dream Rocky Horror, but thankfully my brain gives me a bit of a break from it and doesn't let me remember.
Yeah, you were saying to me before, I remember, it's like you said, every time you look into the mirror and you're putting on Riff Raff's makeup, and you almost you are him more than you're you. Yeah,
well, you don't I have to look at myself in the mirror for hours as I put on the makeup, and in my everyday life I don't do that. So my brain, I'm assuming my brain is more used to seeing Riff Raff's face than my own.
Is that why? Because your makeup skills, anybody who follows you on Instagram will know how absolutely fantastic your makeup skills are, and you've transformed yourself into quite a lot of different people, haven't you? Is that's something that's quite a skill? Did you learn that yourself, or?
I did learn that myself. I don't think I've ever had any makeup lessons, but I was one of those people in school that always really enjoyed art and drawing, and it's really an extension of that. You're just literally drawing on somebody else's face, or I'm a photographer as well, so I really enjoy that aspect of it. And for me, I enjoy the transformation. I love looking like other people, or seeing how you would look if you had certain eyebrows or a certain hairstyle, or people are so changeable in the way they can look, that I find that really fascinating. And so yeah, certainly on my Instagram, that's what I occasionally do. I've got a few more coming up this week.
Have you? Can you
I'm gonna start photographing this week. They probably won't go on to my Instagram for a little while yet, but
I love the Vivian from The Young World.
Oh yes,
just so you look exactly like him. It's uncanny.
Because what I'm doing with them, I'm not even attempting to make myself look. There are people out there, makeup artists, who completely paint their faces so they look exactly like the people. My aim with it is to see what I would look if I was cast in that role. So I kind of called them recast. So if I was cast as Vivian, or if I was cast as Quinta Crisp is another one, or that's what I myself would like to look at if I was cast in that role.
So in that vein, then, who is there a role that you would love to do? Are you going to make yourself up to somebody that you would really want to play a part of?
Well, as an actor, I love the aspect of really not knowing what's coming up. And I like the fact that something can land in your email box and you go, oh, can I imagine myself playing that? And if you can, then that's when I get really excited. Sometimes things come into your email and you'd be like, I haven't got a chance. I'm so ill-suited to that. I haven't got a chance in hell of playing that. So that doesn't spark the imagination really. You go,
you're quite a chameleon, I would say. So
oh, thank you. But some things are definitely a bit of a stretch. But so I don't necessarily have one thing that I go, oh, that's the role for me.
But what about in the show, in Rocky Horror, when you have to not be Riff Raff and do somebody else, who are you most excited about to play?
Oh, well, at the moment it's just whatever I'm doing. So at the moment it's Frankenfurter. And I have played Brad in the past, but I can't imagine playing Brad anymore.
Really?
And
why's that?
I just don't know. It's such a long time ago since I played it, and I can't even picture myself playing Brad anymore. So and I've played the narrator, but I think I'm I don't know, in my head, the narrator is actually a distinguished older gentleman, and I don't think I'm quite there yet. So, although
nobody knows how old you are. This is a big secret, isn't it?
I do.
Because you look so young. You look so young, but you've looked so young forever.
Well, I'm a vampire, so I'm a vampire, so people will discover that in 50 years when they go, hang on a second, he hasn't aged since the year 2000.
No, how do you do it? What's the secret? What do you
blood, that's the secret.
Sucking the life out of that's why there's so many different cast members, because you just suck the blood out of them and then move on to the next one.
So
yes,
not the narrator. So I think Riff Raff is really the role I really adore, and everything else is a happy holiday. And but when it comes down to it, it just makes me appreciate Riff Raff all the more. And he's been very kind to me, and I really like the twisted, slightly dark character.
Of course you do. He's fantastic. I have to say as well, I have to talk about when Meatloaf passed away. That must have been a huge blow to the whole Rocky Horror.
Well, he is such a Rocky icon, isn't he? And you can't really think of the original movie without thinking of him, because although his character just comes in for a song really and then disappears, he's only on the screen for a matter of minutes, then he's so memorable in it. And has anybody sung that song as good as him since? It's quite, he is his voice, his vocals were just, in his heyday, were just beyond.
He's a powerhouse, wasn't he?
He's such an interesting singer. And certainly when I was a teenager, even without Rocky Horror, I listened to a lot of Meatloaf as a teenager. I just thought he was I love the theatricality of his voice, and how extreme it was and how dramatic it was. I really loved it. So that's very sad. It's very sad that he's gone, but that's life and death, isn't it?
Now we found out a little sort of backstagey secret last time I spoke to you, and that was that something that you guys see but the audience don't. Can you remember what it was?
Well, that's a really interesting question. I have no idea what that could be, but I would assume maybe it's one of my favorite bits of the show. Actually, I don't. Maybe the audience do see this. Is when I pull back the castle window and everybody is holding up lights for There's a Light. And that's one of my favorite moments, because when I'm looking at the audience, it's basically like they are some sort of, they're like a little bit of a firework display. Quite glorious, quite beautiful. What did I actually say last time?
No, I don't know. For the life of me, I can't remember how I found out, but it was the back of the bed.
Oh, the back of the bed. Okay, yeah.
The back of the bed, and then it was all the autographs of the cast.
Yes.
Have you still, is that still there? Or did you moved on to something
It's
else?
still there, and it progressed. It progressed onto the back of the car, and now the back of the car is full as well.
Oh, it is. So was it?
So it has kept going. This cast so far haven't added to that, but I'm assuming we will before the contract finishes.
Yeah. Oh, so we don't know where it's, we're not sure where it's going. Now what happens with it? Oh, do you just like take a photo, or is it literally the same bed and car?
Oh, it's just exactly the same. No,
Yeah,
it's
it
the
comes
same
up.
one. It doesn't change. It is the same. It is the same physical item. Yeah,
Oh,
it's been all over the world, that bed and the car and the set. You know, when it goes to places like Australia, they don't make a new one out there. They bring this one. This one goes out there. So it's a very well traveled
yes,
set.
well made. I should
Right.
imagine for what it has to do.
It certainly has lasted the distance. You know, it does take a bit of upkeep here and there. The
Yeah.
crew are very good at sort of making sure everything continues running smoothly,
Yeah.
which I'm sure when they have to put it up and put it down every single week,
Mm,
the entire year is no mean feat. You know,
mm,
it's challenging, I'm sure.
yeah. And so how are you getting on with the newest members of the cast now? They've
They're
been
fabulous. Well, we're you know, we're several months in already, so you know, we're all mates now. So they're a lovely cast of people who don't cause any drama, which is always good. And yeah, everybody's really easygoing, which you know, is really important when you're on tour,
Mm,
because especially in these COVID times where, you know, you can't really go out and socialize by yourself. You know, you have to really, if you're out and about, you're socializing with your workmates because
mm,
that's the safest thing to do.
mm,
And because we really have to make sure the show keeps on going. What's changed this year is the stage doors. You know, normally Rocky Horror has a very avid bunch of people waiting at the stage door,
mm,
and that hasn't been able to happen this time. So I think that's been quite a dramatic change for the
mm,
show.
mm.
And it's been a big change for the fans as well. I'm sure the fans have really been missing that.
Yeah.
And but you know, when it comes down to it, it ensures that we come, because you know, at the stage door, everyone sort of, you know, hugs you and has a selfie and gets you to write in their programs and stuff like that. So it is the perfect scenario to, you know, catch COVID from
Yeah,
somebody.
of course it is. Yeah.
So you know, and there's only, like we said, there's only a limited amount of understudies. So
Mm,
we have to be very careful,
yeah.
because we don't want to put the show in jeopardy and put, you know, aside
Mm.
from the show, it's our livelihoods as well. So, you know,
Oh,
we've got to make sure that we keep on working.
be the Kristian Lavercombe one-man Rocky Horror Show. Otherwise,
Well, yes,
well,
yeah.
you could probably do it. I mean, that's what I always wonder. Like you take on all these roles, but you must know everybody's lines by heart, do you?
My brain has an overflow system, so I try not to. I let those things go now,
Mm,
and they're not too far deep in my brain. Like, you know, if I sat down for a couple of hours, you know, I could probably come up with everybody's lines, but yeah, my brain tends to let things go of things it doesn't need, thankfully.
that's a good skill to have, actually.
Good
Yeah.
sometimes, but sometimes you'll get caught out and people are like, how come you don't know that?
Mm.
And I'm like, I have
Yeah.
no idea. So yeah, but you know, there's only so much you can, you know, although if I was ever to go on Mastermind, I'm sure Rocky Horror would probably be a good topic
Oh
for me.
yes, you should do that. Celebrity Mastermind. You'd be brilliant.
Well, I don't think I class as a celebrity, but you know, there would be.
No, I would say you are. You're certainly a celebrity in the Rocky Horror.
The Rocky Horror will perhaps.
Well, for sure, yeah. So have you had lots of interesting responses lately on stage from the audiences?
Oh, the audiences are always fabulous and wild. And, you know, I've always said the sort of more north we go, the wilder they get. And certainly Glasgow, we've been in Glasgow recently, and Glasgow are just, every day is like, you know, because Rocky Horror audiences do tend to get louder and more, they participate a bit more on the weekends. Because people haven't come straight from work, and they've got dressed up, and they've had a few drinks. But in Glasgow, it was like that every day. So,
good on Glasgow.
So it was fabulous. Like a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, it was all like a Saturday night. So yeah, it's been great going around and sort of seeing these places, and I think audiences really appreciate, because they haven't had a lot of theater over the last couple of years. So I think they'll appreciate getting out there and seeing the shows, and making the most of it. And certainly we, as the actors on stage, really appreciate that. And because it makes it special for us as well.
Yeah, it's just I bet you're just so happy to be back up on stage, aren't you now?
Yeah, absolutely adoring it. And I'm sure all the actors appreciate it. They really do. And yeah, let's hope that continues on. This is now definitely the time that people need to come out and support theatre, because it has been limping forward, and it just needs a little bit of extra support to get it going. So hopefully people get behind it all.
I'm sure the Southend people will love Rocky Horror. So
yes,
we'll definitely be there dressing up for you, hopefully.
Yes. I know some of our we've got a couple of our main Rocky Horror fans are based around that area, so I'm sure they will be leading the way. Hopefully.
Oh yeah. Well, we've got to wait till June, I think it is June.
Oh, summer. Oh, that's fabulous though.
So you can bring your camera with you and come and take some photos of Southend.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be lovely weather while we're there. It's always good to be by the sea.
Thank you so much for chatting to me again. It's been really nice talking to you.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. I can't wait to come to Southend.
Oh, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time in Edinburgh.
I will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.